Support for Mission Nonprofit is provided by Thurston Talk.
This program is provided in the public interest by Thurston Community Media. More information at tcmedia.org.
The League of Women Voters was founded in 1920, the same year women were granted the right to vote. The Thurston County chapter of the League was established in 1961 and has been working to educate voters and encourage civic participation ever since. Stay tuned to learn more about the League of Women Voters Thurston County on this episode of Mission Nonprofit. Hello and welcome to Mission Nonprofit. I'm Deborah Vinsel. For more than 30 years, TC Media has collaborated with the League of Women Voters of Thurston County to record candidate and issues forums to share with our local audience. We believe that educating voters and encouraging civic participation is essential to the health of our democracy and our community. It's election season, so who better to have in the studio this month than representatives of the League of Women Voters of Thurston County. Joining us is the leadership team plus one, Annie Coverly, Susan Fixstall, Carol Goss, Nathaniel Jones, and Nicole Miller. So thank you all for joining us. So Carol, Nathaniel, Annie, and Susan, you are part of the leadership team, and Nicole, you are the liaison to the DEI committee.
Yes, the DEI and Justice Steering Committee.
DEI and Justice Steering Committee. So I'm going to just throw some questions out, and I know you all have figured out who's going to take the lead on it. So who's going to tell us a little bit about the League's history nationally and the League's history locally?
Well, I'd be happy to do that. The League was founded by the same people who got women the right to vote in 1920. And so in Washington State and nationally, the League was formed in 1920. In Thurston County, the League was formed during a period of time when state government was changing from a patronage system to a civil service system. Patronage was when there was party loyalty that determined whether you got a job or not. When that change happened, then there was a foundation for the League to be formed here in Thurston County. And that happened in 1961.
Okay. So four of you make up the leadership team, and Nicole's coming as a representative too. Can you tell us a little bit about your roles on the leadership team and the positions you serve, what you do, starting with you, Susan?
Sure. So the leadership team takes the place of the president and vice president of the League. But we do more than that because we kept our jobs. So in my case, for example, I'm chair of the Voter Services Committee, and I'm continuing that. I'm also working on the Communications Committee as well as the rest of the leadership team. So we're very heavily involved still in the League.
Annie, what's your role with the League?
So my role actually is to be the backup for fiscal management, that kind of stuff. And also, I just want to mention our nonpartisan statement that we make constantly is that, and I didn't used to understand this, but I really get it now about not supporting an individual or a party, but focusing on policies and what we believe in and the issues that we study. So that's one of the things that we look at.
And we'll talk more about the issues and things.
Yeah.
Nicole, I'm going to skip over you. Going to come to Nathaniel as a member of the leadership team.
Okay.
What's your role?
Well, I mostly focus on communications at this point. The League has a website, we have a YouTube site, we have a Facebook page, and so we're trying to make those as fresh and accessible to people as we can. In addition to that, we do the candidate forums. Every time there's an election, local elections you get to meet the candidates for those elections, and we partner with Thurston Community Media to do that. And then we also do issue forums locally. Several times a year, there'll be where we invite the public in to hear experts about issues that are important to our community.
Okay. Carol, what's your role on the leadership team?
Well, on the leadership team, it's a collaborative model, and ours is not the first to have started that. There's leagues not only in the state but across the country who have found that the job of president and vice president is somewhat onerous. It's a lot of work. And as Susan mentioned, we still maintain our roles, which mine is as membership chair. But the great thing about that is that we don't stay in a silo. We meet together, and from these various windows, mine being membership, and I was the first organizer of our DEI and Justice Steering Committee, as well as other, as we get thrown in, and I'm part of the communications as well. So our job really is to continue to collaborate, communicate, and really work together to further the mission and goals of our league, which is empowering voters and defending democracy.
So you work as a team to make sure you can keep some oil in the engine and move forward as an organization.
It's a great way of putting it, Deb.
Yeah. Good. Nicole, I want to ask you a little bit about your role as representative to the DEI and Social Justice Committee. Is that or Justice?
It's the DEIJ, so Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Justice
Okay,
Committee.
thank you.
And we have had a committee since 2020. I was on that committee, and then this year, because part of our strategic plan is to just look to use a DEI lens for everything that we do. So really looking at everything that we're doing from an equity perspective, and considering who is impacted by the policies that we're creating or the issues that we're supporting. And so as a board member, first year board member this year, I serve as the liaison between the DEIJ committee and the board.
Okay, great. Well, Nathaniel's presence here makes it very evident that the League is no longer just a women's organization. So can someone share with me, when were men invited to become members and participate, and what motivated that?
I can talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah. So men have been involved with the league for a long time, but it was in '74 that men were actually given full rights, or they gained access to full rights within the league. And those of us who can remember the '70s, that was a time when organizations were getting more gender balance. Private clubs were opening up to women and that sort of thing. So it's part of that same time frame. Today, our league and other leagues are involved in opening up our organization to more people. We're open to anyone over the age of 16.
Great. How many members in the local league right now?
About 170 or so.
And the gender split there?
It's tough. My best estimate is about 15%, maybe a little less than that.
Our men.
Our men,
Yeah, okay.
yes.
But that's still, I think, significant, And it does, when you throw out years like 1974, it's like, well, I graduated from high school in '75, so that seems like such recent history to me that not just in the league, but in any organization, the issue of gender equality and gender inclusiveness just seems like such a recent thing, And you think about it and go, that took us way too long to get there.
It's only 50 years.
Only 50 years ago. Okay, well, as Annie mentioned before, the league is nonpartisan, and you do not endorse candidates for office, but you do take positions on ballot issues. So I'd like to know if you could share somebody, how does the league make the decision as to what issues they're going to study and or endorse?
I could jump in on that one as well. And I don't mean to steal the floor, but from the very beginning, the league has done studies in order to develop positions. And our studies have been, are held up as being very thorough and fair-minded in their development. That study report then results in the development of positions, and then we fiercely pursue those positions on public policy. We have some going right now that we're very interested in. The state has some ballot measures. Our organization has taken a position on 3 of those ballot measures in opposition to 3 of the 4 that you'll find on your ballot. 2066 having to do with appliances, we still have not taken a position, and that's because we're still studying it. It's a relatively recent addition to the ballot. So if you're interested in our positions, jump on our website, and there's more information there.
So when you say our positions, are you speaking solely the Thurston County League, or is this how do I put do local chapters ever differ in their positions on things from the state position of the state league?
That's a great question. So we operate at all three levels of government, federal, state, and local. Our Thurston League really focuses on Thurston issues. So these ballot measures are state measures, and their positions and even the study work was done by the state organization. We generally adopt state positions because we're not confined to local issues. In fact, there was a county in Washington State that put forward a position that was just adopted nationally, having to do with local newspapers and information to news at the local level. So we can influence at the state and national level, but generally we stay confined to local issues.
Well, speaking of local issues, what are the local issues that the Thurston County League is looking at these days?
Well, one of them to begin with is there's a strong push. As you know, we created a civics book for all students to be able to have in school. So we're currently raising money to buy those books for every child in Thurston County. So that's one of our big pushes right now. But you know, we also involve ourselves in a lot of community campaigns that are around climate change, a lot of DEI kinds of work, education things. I don't know, am I forgetting anything else?
Tribal and water?
Huh?
Tribal and water?
Oh, well, we did have two recent studies on a tribal study, and then we had a lengthy one on a water study, which talks a great deal about water in Thurston County. It's a really important document, I think, too.
So how do you involve the community in those discussions?
Well, we've had community forums, particularly with water study. I believe we've had 4 or 5, and then we invite professionals to come in and really give us the data that we can work with. So that would be one of the ways to begin with. But we also look for the people who are knowledgeable about the topic and do our research in order to carry it out. So yeah.
And something that I'll add on to that is that for the last 2 years, our league has held forums involving diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging managers in Tumwater, Olympia, Lacey, and Thurston County. And so for the last 2 years, we held those panel discussions, and beginning this year, 3 of the 4 jurisdictions are now meeting once a month. So they had never met before our forum last April, and now they know each other so well, they're beginning to share technology and different assessment tools as well. So that's something that I think we can feel really proud of. And we're planning one for next year. And Lacey Equity Commission wants to be a co-sponsor. So we're going to continue that conversation.
That's great.
Can I just add, just from a DEI and belonging lens, for the city and the county municipalities to be meeting together once a month is so beneficial for our community just as a whole, because I mean, I know Carol's talked about it, but just them meeting together and sharing tools and resources, and not recreating the wheel, not resurveying people who have been oversurveyed, and just really being able to take action as a regional process, I just think is beautiful. So it's so wonderful that came from the league's forums.
Yeah, because none of these issues affect solely one small governmental entity. It's, we're regional.
Exactly.
Thurston County.
Exactly.
And now they're really working cross jurisdictions.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
So what are the national issues that the league nationally is focused on?
There are so many.
Give us a few.
Well, at the national level, they're involved in a lot of lawsuits to prevent voter suppression, which is happening in some southern states. And so working nationally is important on that. Equal rights amendments, equitable voting rights. What else? A woman's right to choose. I'm blanking on
Well, the
what it is.
national files amicus briefs throughout our country in order to protect voting rights as well as make sure that we're not going backwards in time. And a portion of the dues that our members pay goes to both this national as well as the state league. And part of the state league dues are really about helping to get those books out across the state. And when people join, they can also donate to the advocacy team. And so the advocacy team has a chair, and they're covering issues related to education, healthcare, including behavioral health,
right.
women's health care, and the environment. And so they're very busy year round, not just during the time that the legislature is going, but they work year round.
So I know that there are multiple issues, and we've obviously shared a few of them here. But I know that the league goes through a process too to determine which issue is going to get your effort and your time, because you certainly can't deal with all of them. And so can somebody share what that process looks like?
Well, I think to begin with, we have a program of work meeting once a year where we try to focus our priorities and decide this is where we're going to spend our energy, this is what we want to do, this is where we want to align, that sort of thing. So that kind of like a strategic plan makes it for that year.
We jump in, Annie, to say that meeting includes our entire membership.
Yes.
It's not just a board meeting.
Right.
We're all involved in that.
Yeah, thank
So
you.
is it just through consensus? The membership comes to consensus?
It actually is through consensus. There are other things that come up. Someone may want to do a study, and then we have to really think about that because our studies take, at the minimum, 2 years. And it's a lot of research and fact-finding. So we have to see if we have the capacity for that. Still, we decide by consensus. Yeah.
Time, effort, and sometimes treasure also.
Yes.
To figure out whether it's a yes or a no.
Yeah, to add to that, we were talking about local issues and state issues. Kind of what happens sometimes is our members might facilitate a statewide one. I know Karen Tweet right now is working on an elder care study, which is important to all of us as we deal with those issues. Yeah.
Yep. So, voter is a big part of your name, the League of Women Voters. And voter education and civic engagement and involvement is, I know, an important pillar of your work. So in our last primary, fewer than 40% of registered voters participated. And I'm wondering if any of you could share just kind of your perspectives on what brings people, well, we don't go to the polls in Washington State anymore. That's almost a euphemism. Why people don't participate and what we can do to encourage more participation by folks.
Well, yeah, that falls in my purview of
There you go.
Chair of Voter Services. So one of the things that we do is we go to absolutely every community event that there is in Thurston County and talk to voters. So we talked to over almost 1,000 people this year. And yeah, there's sometimes confusion. We had, for governor, something like 30 people running. So people open the pamphlet, and of course those are the first ones. And so it's page after page of sometimes frivolous cases. And so I think one of the problems is sort of too much information in a way, where people feel confused. Another is our primary, which really didn't get very many people turning out, is in August, and that has to be so that the auditor's office can manage 2 elections a year. It's every year that they have elections. So that's a time when people are not focused. And this year, of course, it's been a very divisive discussion. So I think there have been a lot of reasons why people aren't as engaged, but we do need to think about ways to engage voters through many organizations, and we are reaching out now, partnering with a lot more organizations and with underrepresented voters. So I think we've turned a certain corner in the league, transforming ourselves into working through a DEI lens, and I think it'll take some time, but I think we'll succeed in engaging more people.
I know when I've lived here now for 32 years, and when we went to an all-mail ballot, I was way on board with that. I know there are some folks who are like, I miss the polls, I want to go to a polling place, I want to pass, but it has always surprised me that it couldn't really be easier to vote.
Yeah.
That's right.
And yet
Yeah.
people don't. And, and I know that the work that the league does is to educate voters about especially about issues. I mean, that's important. People make up their minds about candidates based on a lot of things, but issues, hopefully they make their minds up somewhat based on facts that are presented. And we appreciate that the league is involved with that. So kind of keying on this, we've heard a lot over recent years that people have questions about our voting process, the safety of it, the security of it, the validity of it, whether it's a vote by mail process or going to the polls in other states. So how is the league involved in helping to ensure, access to the ballot, but also encourage the security and validity of that?
Well, we work closely with the auditor's office, and they have a lot of information about safe and fair elections. Right now, they're trying to address that question. And Mary Hall has done a very wonderful job at creating a more transparent process in the ballot processing center itself. So anyone can call up and make an appointment to tour the facility. They can also become an observer, which takes an hour or two of training, and then you can observe all through the election anytime that you want to, right there, watching people and asking questions at the same time. And if you don't have time to do that, you can go to our voter info page on our website and just click on a button and watch in real time as people are processing ballots. And so with this more transparent process, I think that's helped a lot of people understand. And we also have a section in our website on election integrity, where we have facts about elections, and we have a very nice video series that helps people understand mis and disinformation better, to try and figure out, is this true when I'm reading what I'm hearing?
And it's challenging these days with as I'm going to say fragmented as our media landscape is. There are a million eyeballs in 500,000 different places. So it can be really hard to get that message out too. So thank you for those efforts. So we know that candidate forums are coming up, and we know that TC Media will be involved with that. But other than the election forums and activities, what other kinds of things are coming up for the league in the near future? Activities or events?
Do you want to start?
Well, I mentioned earlier that we'll be working on another panel involving the local jurisdictions, but also Lacey wants to expand on that and involve nonprofit organizations as well, and so we'll be helping with that. But again, that's where each organization is doing something regarding inclusion, diversity, and really being a more open and accessible way of connecting with the community. And then we also have a segment of our DEI and Justice Steering Committee who are working on a panel convening school districts and school boards regarding what are the things that they're doing to address inequities and help students feel that they belong and that they want to be in school.
Nicole, do you want to key in on that?
Yeah, I was just going to add the majority of the school districts have people who are doing equity work specific in those positions. And so bringing the boards together and those positions to really hear from them, again, about what they're doing, allows the community to hold them accountable and responsible, just like the community or the municipalities. It allows us to ask questions and the community to hold them to the information that they're saying that they're doing. And I know there's lots of information about the problems that we're having in schools for especially youth of color, the bullying, all the things. We just talked about this at the NAACP meeting that I was at this week. The folks aren't aware that there's a new chapter of the NAACP in Thurston County, which is incredibly exciting. I know that's not the nonprofit that we're here to talk about, but I just wanted to add
Thanks
that.
for the clue.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. But also one of the other things that the league is doing is we have started a conversation about civics. And Susan, Carol, and I, and one other member of the DEIJ committee are meeting and going over the civics book. I have to look at the name. Oh, The State We're In, Washington. I just wanted to make sure I got it right. And we're going through that book to put together a lesson plan so that league members can go through that book and just really learn about the state of Washington and our politics and policies, and really looking at other information as well, not just the book, but looking at just maybe other resources that we have to just learn about the history of Washington State.
Yeah.
So that's something else we're doing.
I had an opportunity to skim through the book, The State We're In, Washington.
Yes.
It's a book about civics and how government in the state of Washington works, tribal and local and state. And I was very impressed with it. I thought it was would be a wonderful addition to any classroom curriculum. So
Absolutely.
Congratulations and thumbs up to that. Was a state project, a state league.
Although the writer is a local, Jill Severin, who works for the Olympians.
Right,
yes.
right. So yeah,
You
I
know,
was
one
really
of the
impressed
other
by that.
education things that we want to be able to look at is that I think there was legislation passed about the time immemorial curriculum being taught in all schools, which it should be, and we don't think it necessarily is. And how can we help that come along and be a part of every child's education?
So you've shared a lot with me and our viewers about how you are engaging with the community. How does the community engage with you? How can people get involved with the league in a more personal way? Who wants to take that?
One very easy way is just to look at our website, and we have a list of events, and they can just come to the events. That's always open. We also have our stand on the 3 initiatives that we're against, because the league worked very hard to get the laws passed for those issues. And so we have a lot of information to provide people, and it's right there on the homepage. So that would be the easiest. There's also a button on our homepage that you can click to be on our mailing list. And that way you can read our newsletter, find out what's going on. And since we're on this new path to create a more diverse membership, we have more diverse interest in the newsletter, and we're trying to address that as well.
We also, if you're a person who really wants a social context, like wants to actually meet people and talk to them, every Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock at River's Edge, we get together and talk about issues. So that's a really good way to actually meet people and find your community.
It's called Coffee with the League.
Coffee with the League at River's Edge every Tuesday morning.
Right.
That's great. So what does it take to become a member? If I want to do more than just have coffee, what if I want to be a member?
You can join. You can join with the league. Although you can join with us without having to join the league, but we love it when people join the league because, again, they have more investment in the work that we do. But and I'll just talk a little bit about what we do with membership. So when people join, they get a new member packet. It's all electronic, and but we're happy to meet with people, ask them questions, find out about their interests, and then find them some way of volunteering that works for their level and their interest and their time. And so it could be that they join a committee and they attend and help us plan for the panel for next year. But we're also partnering with faith organizations such as the OUU congregation is forming a book group with the book Making Democracy Count. And so if people just want to kind of sample what things we do without having to join, we welcome everybody to come. So our forums are not just for members, they're for the public.
What kinds of volunteer opportunities are there with the league? What kinds of things could you use volunteer help with?
Well, I need lots of help.
We're a nonprofit.
Yeah,
Right.
we're a nonprofit.
And all volunteer.
And people are busy, and our volunteers are busy, and so we can always use more people. One thing that a lot of people like to do is table, and that means standing behind a table with league materials on it, talking to voters about why it's important to vote. And since that's part of our mission, defending democracy and empowering voters, you can feel like you're really doing something important. And so That's really good. We can use people at every level, as any organization can, in Zoom technology for our forums, with communications at every level, and membership. The membership committee is very small right now. We could use help for a membership drive. Almost every aspect of what we do. Some people might be quite attracted to the studies that we're doing, and often people can join at a little bit later date. So the study that Annie mentioned about elder caregiving is still ongoing. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot going on. I'm going to give you each an opportunity to just in a word or two tell, not me, but our viewers, why should they vote? I know you've been asked this question before.
Yeah.
So
I've
what
got
would you
the
say
answer
to what would you say to somebody?
right handy, yeah. So your vote is your power. Your vote is your right. Your vote is your choice.
Annie, what do you say?
With your vote, you get to choose the kind of world you want to live in. What matters to you? That's why you should vote.
Okay.
Your vote is your voice.
I think it empowers democracy, and I think that we're committed to that, and I think everyone should be.
And when you vote, you're making a commitment that democracy is important to you and that we're not going backward.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you all for being here to share the very good work that the League does. And thank you again for the collaboration between the League of Women Voters and TC Media. I know it's been...
Thank you.
You are more than welcome.
Yes.
You are more than welcome. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to spend some time with us.
And we hope people will visit our website.
Oh, yeah. What is the website? Give us
It is
that.
lwvthurston.org. And we also have an email address, so information at LWV
Info at.
Info
Info
thank you.
at LWVThurston.org.
Or you can
.org.
Or you can just Google Thurston League of Women Voters.
You can Google it.
Yeah,
Or you could Bing it. I just have to put that out there for my sister who
okay.
works for Microsoft.
Okay.
I could use another search engine. Sorry.
That's good.
hope she watches this.
YouTube page and Facebook.
Yes.
Any other social media platforms?
Well, we're working on Instagram. We just don't have it up yet.
Okay. So
So technology is another area that we
technology
can
and communication.
We need help.
support.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So again, thank you again for being here and for sharing the very good work of the League of Women Voters, Thurston County. We appreciate your time.
And thank you.
You're more than welcome. Voting is one of our most precious rights. Locally, we've often seen elections determined by very small margins, sometimes just a few votes. Every vote is important. Every vote counts. Your vote is your voice. Don't be silent. When you get your ballot in the mail, please fill it out and return it. You don't even need postage. You can get lots of information about voting, including how to register at vote.gov. If you want more information about the League of Women Voters Thurston County, go to lwvthurston.org. Join us again next month to learn about another organization doing great work in our community right here on Mission Nonprofit. Thanks for watching.